All right, let me check audio. Testing.
Testing.
Cool. All right. Hey guys, I know it's been a couple of days since I've seen you guys. We have done a lot of glue ups. I kind of wanted to get them all out the way. I did all the glue ups for the shelving, side panels, dividers. So now we're ready to mill stuff down and go into our actual final glue ups. Let me remove all these clamps and I'll show you guys all the panels that we have to work with. Howdy. I'm going to need these again. I don't want to put them all the way up. I'll stash these over here in the chair for now. That's all right. Glad you can make it. So I'm going to show you guys all the glue ups that I did over the last couple of days. All the various parts and pieces to this TV stand. This panel is about 5/8 thick. Has to still get planed. But this is going to end up being one of the shelves. Well, two of the shelves. Here's going to be another two shelves. Another two shelves. So this is going to end up being the shelving for the cabinet. I have another piece I did need to glue up over here. It's going to end up being some of the shelving. All the shelving is going to be ash that I stained black. Probably going to add like a mahogany nosing to them. So this all will be shelving. Let me move these clamps out the way. We have our shelving panels. We have two dividers. They're going to actually go in there inside the cabinet to be dividers where my doors are going to slam up against. And then over here on this back wall, or this back section of the garage, we have the actual panels for the actual box. Let's see here. Top and bottom, side panels. These still need that mahogany and stuff added to it after we plane it down. It'll be another glue up. I'm planning to plane and joint these pieces, get those nice and flat, and then we'll probably stain them. And then tomorrow I'll go into adding the mahogany piece in the middle. But the first step of our process is the jointer. Let's see, what else can be jointed? Those have to get ran through the planer. So I'll leave those over there. But all the actual pieces for the box can get jointed and then glued up. Jointed then plain. Set these back here. And then set up the jointed to get these flattened. I think the widest of these are like 5.5, almost 6 inches. So we'll set it up for the max width on the jointer. So right there. All right, I'll grab my headphones so we can get started flattening these panels. Can't forget to lock the wheels. That actually did it in one pass. Almost. I'm going to do one more. Yeah, one more pass to do it. Yep. This is gotta get right to the table, so I'm just a little too wide. Turn these other ones too wide. Number 6. Number 6. All those words. So I'm gonna join the rest of these before I break that one. This one needs to get ripped too on the tips off. This one does too. So actually what I'm going to do is switch focus. I'm going to rip these off the clamps. So yeah, these three over here are too wide to go through my joints. So I need to rip them to make them just a little bit smaller. So let me actually clear off my bench so I can tackle that. But of course, I have all of my clamps like right here in the way. All right. I think we're out of the way enough. Just lower that table saw blade. Well, that craft paper's doing me no more good now. All right, let's head back to the jointer. That's good. Let me check. The separator's still good. Probably will need to dump it tonight, but I should be able to get through this process at least. All the face going. Whew. All right, now time to set up my planer. Whew. I'm gonna actually open up the back garage door. It's a little bit toasty in here. Make sure I got room for the longest piece. And it looks like we have plenty. Let's see. Is it better for you guys to be back there or up here on my bench? Probably over there. So you guys can see the boards as they come out. Make sure none of them are going to come out and interfere with the camera. Camera's way back there, so that's good. And I'm probably just going to slide this over just the fuss to give me a little bit more walking room. Cool. Let me grab headphones. I'm probably going to plane all of these panels while I'm at it. Well, at least these. I might not do the shelving. I'll save the shelving for later. But I can plane up everything I actually need to build. The cabinet being these pieces. And then I need 2 of these mahogany strips. Actually, all 3 of these mahogany strips need to get planed down. And the mahogany is the thickest thing I have that needs to go through the planer. So I'll set the depth to match this piece of mahogany. And we'll just work our way down with the planer until we start feeding our panels through. And then after that, I can go in and cut a spline in all these panels so I can do that final glue up. And then go ahead and stain all the panels. No. And regular show side quest. Yeah, see, I don't like the idea of trying to revive an old cartoon. Regular show is great how it is. They did another spinoff. Like spinoffs are fine. I think show revivals are kind of pushing it. Like the new Proud Family, I didn't watch that either, just because I don't know, didn't feel right. Oh, they're just shorts. That's gay. Yeah, because all that does is give us a glimpse of like a regular show adventure. Like the best part about regular show is seeing the beginning, middle, and end of how it starts off like a regular day, escalates to something crazy, then how they bring it right back down. It's kind of what made that show good. Because they'll start off just in the park picking up leaves, and then a unicorn that wants to do a party will come by. Like it's the so just having it in shorts, kind of I guess eliminate that whole story arc that the show or each episode kind of goes on. So that just seems kind of like, I don't know, a missed opportunity. And yeah, I'm probably in the middle. I'd say let it keep running. And it had an ending, so like I don't think it needed a remake. I don't think it needed more episodes. It finished, so I don't think remakes just for the sake of remakes are okay. Just because the show did great doesn't mean that you need to remake it and bring it back, especially if you're not going to do it justice. All right, so the first thing that needs to go through are these mahogany pieces. And yeah, I am, just a little bit. I'm pretty sure this is full by now. Trash can is full and the bag is filled up. So yeah, gotta dump that at some point. Just want to show you guys what we got going on. One thing I can say is I'm not 100% sure on how I want to proceed. I am a little unhappy with the final thickness that I got. I haven't even measured this, but I feel like it's 1/2 inch. I wanted to end up with 3/4 inch material. And yeah, we're right at 1/2 inch. And there's still another glue up that needs to be done. So, trying to think about how I want to do this. My overall plan was 2 panels. It was going to be 2 panels of ash and red oak. So if you see these, you actually probably can't even tell the difference. This panel has ash and red oak all from here over is all ash. This is a piece of red oak added to the very edge. Ash and red oak are pretty close as far as the look, appearance, and grain structure and density. But yeah, that's all ash. And then the red oak starts right there, that seam. So I figured, hitting this with a black sand would probably look pretty uniform, but it might have just a slight contrast. And then some of the red oak looks slightly different. Like some of this red oak, it's like almost a orangish tint, slightly darker than the ash. So my intent was to stain these panels black and then add a mahogany strip in the middle, which would be my red. And then this will end up being the panel, well, top and bottom and side panels for the nightstand. You end up getting, all this will end up being black. The mahogany, once it gets a finish on, it will be red. And then this will make up my top panel. And then I have enough to do the same glue up for sides, bottom, etc. But again, they're at 1/2 inch. I've never made a hardwood cabinet that was 1/2 inch thick. I mean, at this point, I might as well continue though. See what I get at the very end. So the next thing I need to do though is to rip the other side parallel, and I have to make all 4, the side, top, and bottom panels. I need to make them the same width as each other. So that way when I glue in the mahogany strip, that it is going to be the same width all around. All the panels end up being the exact same width. And then I can cut the dado. That's going to help try to make this final glue up nice and easy. Because again, I'm not, after I stain these 2 side pieces, I'm not going to want to have to sand the top portion. So I am going to, my plan is, now their thickness, flattened, throw a spline in here, stain these black. So then when I go into the final glue up with a pair of cauls plus the spline, I should be able to get this perfectly flat and not need to sand it, hopefully. And then if I do, I guess I'll just be coming back with some tape and trying to tape off the mahogany area. But stain typically bleeds on like a paintbrush where you can just tape off and paint. Stain will like bleed from this board underneath the tape into this mahogany. And I want to try to keep, again, the mahogany strip nice and straight and red as a vibrant accent. So my next step, though, is to rip a couple of these to the same width so they can travel all the way around the edge together. These are going to end up being the actual dividers inside the cabinet. And these also get a strip of mahogany added to the very edge. So when the door closes up against it, whenever you open the door, you'll see the mahogany. And then I'll have shelf pin holes and stuff like that drilled through the sides of these. Whew. Yes, we're getting there. Again, I'm not quite happy with the thickness of these panels. Ain't really much else I can do about it. Okay. So I need to rip these three to the same width, and then rip these three to the same width. These three over here are skinnier than these three. So my goal is to pair one of the wider pieces with one of the skinnier pieces, sandwich the mahogany in the middle, and then again with these three being ripped to the same width, these three being ripped to the same width, I will have this one cut in half being the back side of two side panels. This one will be the back side of the top, back side of the bottom, so on and so forth. Essentially, there's going to be a way to make sure the glue up in the panel ends up being continuous going all the way around. I was thinking about making the red oak the exact same width on all these. So like ripping this side to make sure the red oak is 3/4 and 3/4 on all these. That's not going to matter. It's all going to get stained black. So I'm not too worried about making sure like the red oak lines up with the red oak. Maybe that makes sense. Let me bring this piece down here. So when I miter my panels, we're going to have red oak and red oak lining up. These two are actually pretty much the same width this way. So that's actually not bad. But like this red oak down at the bottom, they're flush here on this side. This piece is wider. So I'm not going to go ahead and rip this red oak on this panel to make sure it's the same width as this and then rip the overall panel to the same width. I'm not going to go through all that because, again, I don't think it's going to matter with everything stained black. It's going to kind of blend in as I miter fold it. As long as everything's the same width and this mahogany strip, this is what needs to be continuous going all the way around the box to make it look good. So as long as all the panels are the same width, it will work out. So really, I actually take all these clamps off my bench so I can pull back to construction paper. So let me put up these clamps, then I'll rip these pieces, and then we'll probably go ahead and sand them up to at least 120 and apply the black stain. Well, run the day, apply the black stain. Whew. Where's my razor blade? I'm just gonna cut that flat and cut the paper. Somebody used my razor blade. I forgot I gave it to my dad yesterday. My nephew, not my dad. And I don't know where he put it. Oh, found one of them. I gotta run inside real quick. You guys hang on just for a second. I have to grab something. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that short disruption. You'll probably want the camera right here. Let me grab some water. That's hilarious. Let's see, what's the smallest one? That's 5 3/4. It's 5 3/4. These are just under 5 3. All right. The next thing I need to do is run a dado down the edge of each one of these red oak sides and on both sides of this piece of mahogany so I can make up splines. And I still have a bunch of strips over here. Just need to see how much of it do I have that is suitable for splines. Let's see. Are these long enough? I wouldn't do the full distance, but so I can probably, how wide is this? If I split this in half, this is 2 1/4. Each one on splines would only be an inch and an eighth, give or take, or inch and a 16th minus the blade. So they will only go on each side by like a ½ inch. Which, I mean, that'll do enough. So I can actually make this into 2 splines. So this one can do that panel. This one can do that panel, or one side of that panel. Then if I rip this one in half, I can just rip this down to an inch and a 16th. Okay. So I'll make the splines an inch and a 16th. Thickness wise, what is the skinniest piece? Which is this over here, which is like a single pass on the table saw. So honestly, you're playing down these splines. Well, no, I'll take a single pass with the table saw and then I'll determine my splines after that. But I know I don't want to be more than an inch and a 16th. So that means I don't want to go in more on each side, and then 5/8. So I need to lower the blade down to about 5/8. There we go. And these are 1/2 inch. So I want the center of my blade to be dead at 1/4. Now we're gonna run these two splines through the planer, sand up a panel, and maybe do one glue up. We'll see. Oh, I went too thin. Aw. Yeah, that's way too thin to actually help with any type of actual line. Let's try this again. tight still. And once I add glue, it's not going to quite want to go. Just a little bit more. There. So now I drop a spline in, drop on my mahogany. And then drop on my wider panel. Oh, other spline. Again, be a little easier to do it in clamps. I'm thinking between cauls, clamps, I should be able to get this nice and flat for my glue up. So my hope is I can go ahead and stain these two side panels black already. And then when I do this glue up, I don't need to sand. And I need to repeat that 4 times. And then I'll have the ability to miter fold and actually make the cabinet box. I do need to add dados and everything else to this as well. And yeah, I have a bit of an idea in mind. I wouldn't call it perfect, but it's shaping. All right. So the one thing I do want to do is just hit this with some 120, and then I can go in and stain these. I already have 120, got 220 on it. I don't have any more gloves. That's what I should have grabbed when I went to Home Depot today. Crazy. I'm actually pretty mad I let myself slack like that. I mean, no gloves in the shop. How am I supposed to do finishes? I'll make it work. Just try to be clean and not messy. Good night, and thank you for joining in. All right, this will be my first time using a black stain. So do I have a stir stick anywhere? No, I had a bunch of little pieces of poplar. That's a tiny piece of mahogany will work, and this is actually nice and black. This might actually give me what I'm looking for. Let's see, it wipes off this mahogany pretty cleanly. And that's not really the black color that I want. Let's see how it looks on this ash real quick. I want it really black. There was another stain that was labeled jet black. I think this might actually be close enough to the color that I'm looking for, though. It might actually need 2 coats of stain. I'm gonna let this sit and then wipe it off and see how black it stays. And then see if another coat makes it any darker or if this is what I want. Because I want it practically the color black, but I still want to be able to see the wood grain. I don't want it to be like gray or whitewashed. I want a very obvious black color. Which I haven't tried a black stain before, but Black Forest does have their special blackened ash furniture. It always comes out amazing. So this is my attempt. Let that side sit for a second. All right, I'm gonna let that sit for 5 minutes and then wipe it off. And from the spots that already dried up, it looks like it's fairly black. We'll see what it actually looks like once I wipe it off. And then I'll hit the other side and we can attempt this first glue up and see if this is the method I'm gonna go with or if I need to glue them up, plane them, sand them, and then go through taping off the mahogany to get, again, the results that I want. These are the side panels, so I'm not super worried about these. I would say pretty close to what I wanted. It's definitely black. So then we're gonna hit the other side, wipe it off, and then hit the front side again. Try to get like 2 quick coats on it. Again, you're supposed to wait for about 15 to 20 minutes. But we're not in a rush, but I'm trying to see how this works with the glue up really. This also only 1/2 inch. And it's not a super thick glue surface right there. I want to make sure that I'm not getting stain on that glued edge or the edge that's going to be my glue joint. All right. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. Then I can wipe that off, and then we can try this first glue up. And then if this works, I just have 2 more to do, just like it, and that will give me all of the panels I need to actually make the carcass for the TV stand. Yeah, I would say that second coat didn't really darken it up at all. Maybe it did a little bit. So I'm in front compared to the back. No, they're actually about the same. So I'm gonna leave the second coat alone. And we can go ahead and attempt this first glue up. I'm not sure where to put those 2x2s. All right, fingers crossed I can do this and get everything perfect. Because if not, the staining process beforehand won't work. And I'm going to need to come up with another plan to get this how I want it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the wood glue. Let me get a rag real quick and wipe off the face. And then I'll apply the clamps, cauls, and I'll try to go ahead and yeah, that just wipes off some of the stain. The stain hasn't fully cured. And then the glue that's going to get on the mahogany. So yeah, it looks like what my best method is to put them together and stain it afterwards. So I'm already wiping off some of that stain along this edge. Okay, lessons learned. Unless I wanted to be patient and stain it and wait, full 15 to 24 hours. And then, I could go to this glue up point. But that'll take a little bit more responsibility and patience than I typically have. So we're going to glue up these panels. And then I'm probably just going to have to tape off and stain them afterwards. So that means they technically can go through the planer. So I probably could have glued them up all in one big piece. And then, lessons learned. We're actually really flush right here. So I guess if I actually did take my patience and stain first, I probably could do the glue up like how I'm doing it right now. So I might stain them all first thing in the morning. Let the stain fully cure. And then I can go into all these glue ups. Because that's actually pretty darn flush right there. I don't think I need to actually sand. I might be able to get away with not having to sand this board at all. If that's the case, only thing I do is be able to do this glue up without having a ton of glue everywhere, which is definitely possible if I use rags and also which I'll be able to use rags once I make sure that the stain is cured. Yeah, see, these are actually perfectly flush going the whole way down. So yeah, I think I can actually stain them and then just do a careful glue up. Let me make sure I'm clean on the front, and then I'll flip this over to the ground and take care of the back. Oh, great. That black stain. Fuck. Beautiful. All right. So I'm going to let that dry. Then I will make a decision tomorrow on the best methods to tackle that. But I appreciate everybody who did hang around and watch the stream, or anybody who comes back and watches. If you guys have enjoyed, smash that like button, leave me a comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.